Thank you. We now move to question 18, asked by Honorable Mende to the Deputy President.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, as the South African National AIDS Council, that is SANAC, we launched the National Sex Work Sector Plan last year in March. And amongst other things, this plan is aimed at reducing the spread of HIV among sex workers. And this was largely in response to the challenge that our country faces in relation to sex workers being the most vulnerable, the highest vulnerable in the country, in that it was found that up to 70% of them continue to contract HIV. The plan provides a standardized minimum package of services that we would like to see provided by all implementing partners within and outside of government. This core package of services has been designed to encompass the multifaceted lives of sex workers. It calls for national coordination of a range of interventions that are meant to respond to this challenge, and these are biomedical, they are behavioral and social, as well as structural barriers that continue to confront sex workers on a daily basis. Now, evidence indicates that effective HIV prevention, the care and treatment packages for sex workers, their clients, those who use those sex services, and their children should be tailored to local context, and that such interventions should be led and implemented by the sex workers themselves. The sex work sector plan, therefore, seeks to support sex workers not only with healthcare services, but also support them in as far as ensuring that their human rights are protected and advanced, their psychosocial and economic rights are also advanced, the empowerment of sex workers in a variety of ways, economically and otherwise, is also advanced. Now, many of us may know that the South African Law Commission was given a task to look at law reform in as far as the possible decriminalization of sex work. Now, the Law Commission has completed its work, and the Cabinet has decided that the report on the work that they did should be released for public comment as part of a broader consultation process. Once comments have been received from the public, government will finalize a position on the various options that are proposed by the Law Commission. As this work continues, I encourage all sectors of society to support the National Sex Work Sector Plan, understanding that reduced infection rates among sex workers will in the end impact on infection rates in the general population, while ensuring that their constitutional rights of sex workers are protected. Now, this is an important task that all of us need to embark on, because sex workers are just as great and good citizens as all of us. They need to have their rights protected, and we need to join them in ensuring that all the services, all the rights that they should have are advanced, protected, and enhanced. So it's a call on all of us to join in this task of making sure that this plan is implemented and implemented effectively. When will the Law Commission's report be issued? It will be issued soon. It's going to happen. How soon? It's going to be very, very soon. And that is going to give us all an opportunity to discuss the various, if I'm protected from those who are howling about the plan.
Honourable members, please. Be quiet. You can't be throwing words like that around.
Now, this
should
is
be
going to be
order.
released soon, and we
Honorable member,
we
you're
invite-
out of order. What's wrong with you? Okay,
we invite all South Africans to participate in the issue, in the sharp issue that is going to arise, the decriminalization of sex work or not decriminalizing it. That is going to be an important discussion that all of us as South Africans should have. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy President. Honorable Mente.
Enkosi, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, please allow me by starting with recognizing our SWET organization up there from the Western Cape in the gallery. And Deputy President, when you answer the next question, you must know they are sitting here listening to you. Those are the courageous members that protect the sex workers. Now, Deputy President, with your answer that you've just provided, acknowledging that we have a vulnerable group and you are sitting with the law reform findings in the cabinet, we just want the date as to when and where are you releasing. Now, the current law in South Africa allows men to buy sex, but it criminalizes women for selling sex that are at work. How is that allowed in a democratic country? When are we decriminalizing the sex work? We are talking about women who are at job. They are at work. They are not doing anything wrong. So we must protect women in South Africa.
Honorable members,
now we want to know, when are you decriminalizing the whole system to not allow men to buy sex when you cannot allow women to sell sex? Thank you very much.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Clearly, it's quite clear that this topic evokes a lot of interest.
I noticed that, Honorable Deputy President, and I wish members could be quiet because your noise is not improving your arguments at all. Please go ahead, Deputy President.
For a minute, I thought I was being booed. But it's quite clear that people are talking about this in an excited way, because this evokes a lot of interest and excitement amongst people. So, Deputy Speaker, Honorable Mendes has raised an issue, and it's quite a serious issue. It's a matter that the South African Law Commission has dealt with. And in their report, they obviously go deep into this matter, and they are going to put out a number of options. And the reason that the cabinet felt that this matter should be released for public discussion and debate is precisely this. There are different views among South Africans on precisely this matter, whether to decriminalize or to retain the criminalization. Now, when it comes to the criminalization, it's quite bizarre. Bizarre in the sense that sex workers themselves say this is so contradictory, because on the one hand, the government hands out condoms to sex workers and everyone. So sex workers participate in getting these condoms, and as soon as they have them, and these are tools of their trade, and once they have these tools of their trade, the police are waiting for them around the corner. They arrest them and confiscate the tools of their trade. And they say, how can a government act in such a contradictory manner? The one hand gives us condoms, the other hand takes the condoms away from us. And we are conducting our business and our work. Now, these are matters that need to be discussed properly amongst all of us as South Africans. It is quite a serious matter because a number of other people have religious views on this matter. Others have moral views, and others have ethical and a whole number of other views, and cultural, and you name it, and others have party views. Some parties have views on these matters, and others have gender views and what have you. So what we need to do is to, once the report is released, and it's going to be released soon, Honorable Mendes, it'll be released soon, and thereafter the debate must rage, and out of the debate that will rage, the government will then be able to arrive at a conclusion which in the end will finally be brought here to Parliament to be debated, and thereafter we may have to amend the law in one shape or form or another. So that is the invitation to all South Africans to participate in this very important matter. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Anchen Dreyer.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, what the Deputy President has said sounds all very good and well, but you've actually got to put your money where your mouth is. The problem is with this plan, it's a great plan, it's not being implemented. And the reason for the lack of implementation is because your government has not committed 1 cent to any of the components of this plan. And let me tell you exactly which departments are involved. The Office of the Deputy President, Social Development, Justice, Women, Small Business Development, Trade and Industry, and the SAPS. They've not committed 1 cent to this program. They are relying on unreliable donor funds for those parts of that program that have been implemented. So my question is, when will the Deputy President ensure that funds are committed to this program by all the relevant departments, and by what date?
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'm glad that you've done your homework and you've outlined all the departments that are involved. The Office of the Deputy President is not an implementing department. I just want you to know that office, listen first, that office does not even have money to implement anything. So just be aware of that. However, I'm quite happy that you are saying from your knowledge, your either research or evidence, the plan is not being implemented. I find that hard to believe, but I'm going to follow this one up. And when I next come here, you can ask me a question again to see the extent to which this matter is being implemented. Because I launched it, and in launching it, it was backed by funding. Funding was available, and when I launched it, the active participants were the sex workers themselves, who were very pleased that government finally is coming to their aid and assistance. So I will follow this one up. I will not agree or deny what you're saying, but I will find out and I'll come back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, let me once again thank you for your intervention in Johannesburg, where the police had confiscated the condoms of the sex workers, and your intervention helped in having them returned. Deputy President, also let me say, yes, I agree with you, a lot of work is being done by the South African Law Commission, and one such intervention was where South Africa had proposed, even in the SADC region, where countries were calling for criminalization, a law on HIV specific, and South Africa actually successfully opposed that. That was in the interest of all the sex workers who were mainly the target. Thank you very much for that. Deputy President, it's quite obvious that sex workers at the moment are being harassed, intimidated, especially by police officers. Now, whilst this entire process is unfolding, do you think there's something government can do to protect the sex workers until this matter is resolved from any further harassment and intimidation? Thank you.
Deputy President.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Clearly, the harassment of sex workers, in my view, should stop. Because they are people just like all of us, and if they are transgressing various laws, then they need to be dealt with. But in as far as the work that they do, one would like to see a situation where, yes, we go through this matter, finalize it, and thereafter the situation should then be addressed once again. So it is a suggestion from the Honorable Sheikh. It is something that I think in a number of other areas it is being sort of observed, but the law is the law. Currently, the law in our country prohibits that type of economic activity, and hence I spoke about the two hands of the law that do not talk to each other. On the one hand, we assist, and on the other hand, we arrest. That should not be a matter that we easily get involved in. Thank you.
Honorable Dudley.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. According to the 19th edition of the South African Health Review, South Africa has over 150,000 adult sex workers and over 38,000 child prostitutes. Deputy President, the Deputy President has spoken of programs for sex workers to promote safe sex, yet studies show that programs to promote safe sex practices are notorious for failing. For many reasons, including poor mental health, low self-esteem, the drug habits that undermine motivation and the ability to adopt safer sex behaviors. Deputy President, France is one of several countries now criminalizing prostitution and has made the buying of sex illegal as opposed to the selling. Decriminalizing creates a buyer's market, of course, making sellers even more vulnerable. Have you considered that criminalizing prostitution and making the buying of sex illegal would result in greater protection for women and children, both boys and girls? We're not presently, it feels to me like we are presently capitulating to the well-funded campaigns pushing the interests of the multi-billion-dollar industry run by organized crime syndicates. And we have to be more creative than we are being now. And we can't just sell women and children down the drain into even worse predicament than they already are. Thank you.
Deputy President.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, the issue that the Honorable Member is raising is precisely the debate that we should have. Other countries, and she cited one, other countries have decriminalized sex work in part. They criminalize the buying and decriminalize the selling. Other countries do it the other way around. Now, those are the options that are open. Other countries continue to criminalize the selling as well as the buying. If you are both found in the act, you are both arrested and charged. In other cases, they only look at the buyer and charge the buyer and let the seller scot-free. So those are the debates that we should have as a country. And a number of, if you like, Northern Hemisphere countries have opted for one form or another. And the jury is still out on how effective criminalizing buying rather than selling is most effective and works better. So in the end, I would say let the debate be entered into. Let us debate this matter. Let us discuss it and see how best we come out as South Africans. And in the end, it is going to be a South African solution to a global challenge and problem. The issue of the number of sex workers in our country is more or less agreed, as well as children who are brought into prostitution or into sex work. So if once we have this debate, we will be able to give maximum protection to those vulnerable communities that require the protection of the law and the Constitution. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. That concludes questions to the Deputy President. Thank you, sir.